this is where your lumbar support should be, but there's nothing there. It's just empty. I'm not cozied into the seat. I'm like at my uncle's house and I'm sitting in his 40-year-old chair.
So some of you have been asking for this video, and it's the Honda Accord Hybrid versus the Acura Integra side by side in this comparison.
Integra? That sounds very, very familiar.
And these are two cars that, depending on how you spec them,
cost just about exactly the same price, but there are some major differences elsewhere, so let's find it.
So for length, the Honda Accord Hybrid leads by 9.9 inches, that's 25.3 centimeters if you like, meaning the Accord Hybrid is 5.3% longer than the Integra. On width, the Accord Hybrid leads by 1.3 inches, 3.3 centimeters, or just under 2% versus the Integra. And the Accord also stands 1.6 inches, that's 3.9 centimeters, or about 3% taller than the Integra too. When it comes to wheelbase, it's the Honda Accord in the lead by 3.7 inches, 9.5 centimeters, or 3.4%. And on both front and rear track, the Accord Hybrid wins by about 2 inches. Ground clearance between the pair is virtually tied, with the Accord Hybrid coming in just a fraction of an inch better than the Integra. And when it comes to curb weight, the Accord Hybrid is 382 pounds. That's 173 kilograms, or about 12% heavier than the Integra. For passenger volume, it's the Accord Hybrid in the lead by 7 cubic feet, just under 200 liters. That's 7.3% more passenger volume than you'll find in the Integra. But on cargo volume, the tables turn. The Integra beats the Accord Hybrid by 7.6 cubic feet. 215 liters, or 31%, that's a major difference. So to put that another way, the Accord Hybrid gives you 7.3% more room for your passengers, but the Acura Integra gives you 31.3% more room for your cargo. And now for your passenger measurements. Front headroom is basically a tie, with the Integra in the lead by a fraction of an inch. On rear headroom, the Accord leads the Integra by 0.8 of an inch, 2 centimeters, or 2.2%. Front legroom is an identical tie between these two machines, but rear legroom sees the Accord Hybrid in the lead by 3.4 inches, that's 8.6 centimeters, or a 9% advantage in rear seat legroom versus the Integra. Front shoulder room goes to the Accord Hybrid by 0.9 of an inch, 2.4 centimeters, or 1.6%. And the gap closes on rear shoulder room, with the Accord Hybrid in the lead by half an inch, 1.3 centimeters, or less than 1%. There are major advantages in hip room for the Honda Accord Hybrid, 1.1 inches or 2.8 centimeters more up front than the Integra, that's 2%. And in the back seat, the Accord Hybrid leads on hip room by 6.5 inches, 16.5 centimeters, or a 13% advantage versus the Integra.
If you look, like the roof, actually, you can feel it coming down, then it comes up for a little bit.
Yeah.
That's where your head fits into, and then it swoops right down in the back right away.
Yeah.
So like you have to put your head in the sweet spot of the ceiling so that you're not, but I can feel the back of my head touching the back. Swoops up right here.
But then it swoops back down behind
And then it swoops, so like, it's like right here is your head spot.
Yeah.
This thing right here.
Right.
Like I'm grabbing my face.
If you're wearing a hat like I am, it's gonna hit stuff. Like, it's a crude demonstration, but it works.
Yeah, like I'm 5'9". If I was probably like 5'11" or 6 foot, I'd be like,
yeah.
I'd be like Fred Flintstoning this thing.
And I'm 5'10", say a little taller than you, and I'm feeling the same way. So legroom adequate, headroom not so much. But the other thing is,
it is so boring back here because there's nothing to do. I can't have a drink.
No, I don't think you're putting a drink in there.
You got the, the center here. Why isn't there something right here?
Or that would pop out of that
or
even.
pop out of here. There's nothing. There's only one pocket in the back here.
Only on the one side for the pouchies. So interesting, this is one of the most sparse rear seats I've ever seen. No cup holder, because this doesn't fold down. You've got such a great driving experience here. This engine really the star of the show. The transmission working really well with it. The styling really dialing up that high-end appeal. You want that pride of ownership when you're buying a luxury car. But at this base model level, without the wireless charging, without the lumbar support in the seat, without the extra charging ports, without the wireless Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, and also this very sparse rear seating, all makes a really good argument to step up into the elite A-Spec grade if you want that little bit more high-end experience. So that's everything sized up, but exactly what do the engines in each of these machines give you for your dollars?
For that, we have to start under the hood, and it's the Integra first, with a 1.5-liter four-cylinder turbo. That's 200 horsepower and 192 pounds of torque, and premium gasoline is required. In the Accord Hybrid, it's a 2-liter 4-cylinder, no turbocharger but a hybrid electric boost instead. Here we've got 204 horsepower and 247 pounds of torque. So that's the Accord Hybrid with 4 horsepower and 55 pounds more torque than the Integra, or 2% more horsepower and 29% more torque for your dollars. But that's only part of the story. The Integra weighs 3,150 pounds, and the Accord Hybrid weighs 3,532 pounds. That's a difference of 382 pounds. So the Integra's power-to-weight ratio is about 10% higher than the Accord Hybrids. But if you consider the torque-to-weight ratio a strong predictor of overall engine response, the Accord beats the Integra by 15%. Both models come only with front-wheel drive, and both cars have a 60 front, 40 rear weight distribution too. I was a little surprised at the 0 to 60 figures because the Integra tricked me into thinking it was the faster car since it sounds so much angrier at full throttle. But actually, in the Integra, you'll do 0 to 60 in something like 7.5 seconds, and in the Accord Hybrid, while making less noise and using less of your fuel, it's just under 7 seconds, maybe as low as 6.5, making it the better part of a second faster when it comes to 0 to 60 versus the Integra. The Accord Hybrid is rated for a combined 44 miles per gallon on average, that's 5.3 liters per 100 kilometers if you like, and the Integra makes it a combined 32 miles per gallon, or 7.4 liters per 100 kilometers with the CVT transmission. And with 3 pedals and the available 6-speed stick offered for the exact same price, it's 30 miles per gallon or 7.8 liters per 100 kilometers, just a little thirstier. So to put that in dollars and cents, let's take 2 hypothetical drivers, one Canadian and one American. Our typical Canadian driver drives 20,000 kilometers per year and pays $1.60 for a liter of regular grade gas, and $1.90 for a liter of premium gas, which is required for the Integra. Our typical American driver drives 14,000 miles per year and pays $3.20 per gallon for regular in the Accord Hybrid, and $4.10 a gallon for premium in the Integra. So here are the numbers, starting with our Canadian driver whose 20,000 kilometers of driving in the Accord Hybrid costs 1,696 Canadian for a monthly fuel bill of $141. That same driver in the Integra with CVT transmission has an annual fuel cost of $2,812, or a monthly fuel bill of $234. And in the Integra with 6-speed stick, it's an annual gas bill of $2,964 Canadian, or a monthly fuel bill of $247, meaning it's about $150 a year more to drive the manual Integra versus the automatic. But then versus the Accord Hybrid, the Integra with CVT transmission costs our Canadian driver $1,116 per year more than the Accord Hybrid, and the Integra with 6-speed manual will cost you $1,268 more than the Accord Hybrid. So on a 5-year timeline, that's a fuel savings of $6,000 versus the Integra. And on an 8-year timeline, that's the better part of $10,000. So some food for thought for you, and those are with today's gas prices, which will likely rise. For our American driver in the Integra with CVT transmission getting 32 miles per gallon and paying $4.10 a gallon for premium gas, that 14,000 miles of annual driving is a gas bill of $1,794, or a monthly fuel cost of $150 US. That same driver in an Integra with the 6-speed stick is getting a few less miles per gallon for an annual gas bill of $1,913, or a monthly fuel cost of about $160 US. And in the Accord Hybrid with its cheaper gas and more miles per gallon, it's an annual fuel cost of $1,018, or a monthly fuel bill of $85. So over a 5-year timeline, the Accord Hybrid will save between $3,900 and $4,500 compared to the Integra, and over an 8-year period, those savings would be between $6,200 and $7,200, and even more significant if gas prices rise in the future.
So that's how each of these machines uses your gas dollars, and we haven't even gotten to the biggest difference between them yet. For that, we've got to hit the road.
So main driving impressions here are probably where we'll see the biggest differences between these two models, with the Accord Hybrid sized and tuned for a big stable sedan feel at the controls, and that responsive torque-rich engine under the hood which mostly stays quiet but actually wakes up and makes a great sound with strong pull when you open it up. The Integra instantly feels sharper, more eager, and more direct at most of the controls. It's got the more assertive and confidence-inspiring brake pedal feel of the pair. The steering focuses on being fast and sharp. The engine builds power over time once your foot drops. And there's a pleasing but much louder soundtrack as the VTEC system and turbocharger work to create a dramatic sensation of rising thrust and action as the revs climb. Of course, if you want to shift your own gears, the Integra is your only option in this comparison too. The big differences here are just what they look like. The Accord is softer, more muted more of the time, less disturbed by rough roads, more responsive and swift and laid back, but also more torquey than the Integra. After several thousand kilometers on the road in each, I would tell you the Accord is the best choice here to disengage and relax, but that it still packs competent reflexes and a surprisingly entertaining engine when you feel like driving hard. The Integra is not the opposite of this, but it does have sportier intentions. It lets more noise and feedback into the driving experience, perhaps especially from under the hood, but also from the tires. Here you're more engaged with the drive, the attitude of the car, the state of the engine, the grip between the tires and the road. Where the Accord isolates or reduces a lot of these sensations from the driving experience, the Integra allows them to shine through proudly. And though not as comfortable or quiet, it's much more generous with the sort of feedback the enthusiast driver likes.
So another thing that both of us noticed pretty much right off the bat here is to do with these seats.
The lumbar is like not in the right position or doesn't exist. I feel like I'm sitting in a hammock or something. Like there's no, like I got no...
You need more support, James.
I'm not cozied into the seat. I'm like at my uncle's house and I'm sitting in his 40-year-old chair.
Let me put that in perspective for you. What you're looking for here is more support, because I agree with you. I feel like I'm sitting more on the seat where I want to feel like I'm more sitting in the seat.
Yeah, like I feel like I'm like sliding around.
Right, so in a car like this, with the sporty reflexes that we've got going on here, you might expect a little bit more of a supportive seat to support the kind of driving style this car feels built for. The other thing I want to draw your attention to, though, if you're considering one of these, and you happen to be a driver that needs or enjoys a good bit of lumbar support, you're not going to find it here on these base model seats. There actually is no lumbar adjustment. And so when you're saying you feel like you're sitting in a hammock, I actually feel that in my lower back. I want this to be more solid and kind of pushed out more, and I want this to feel like it has more resistance against my weight.
Yeah, like this is where your lumbar support should be, but there's nothing there. It's just empty.
The lumbar, if it's a deal breaker for you or not, that's up to you. Everyone's back is different. Everyone has different needs from the seats in their car. But if you are going with a base model Integra like this one, I'd encourage you to make sure you're going to find these seats comfortable enough, especially for long distance drives.
So which one would I buy? Well, this was actually pretty tough. If this is going to be my only car to live with all year round, do I want a 6-speed manual? Yes, of course, but then there are the hundreds or thousands in fuel savings with the Accord Hybrid, and the fact that it rides much more nicely on the crumbling roads where I live. But then there is a major cargo space advantage in the Integra too. Still, to me, for the dollars, it has to be the Accord Hybrid, and somewhere there's a 17-year-old version of myself that's angry I didn't choose the 6-speed manual. But then that 17-year-old version of me was also paying a lot less for gas. And though on my test drive the Integra's reflexes left bigger smiles than the Accord's, I don't find that Accord Hybrid engine any less satisfying to work hard than the Integra's, and I'm saving plenty on gas and probably getting higher resale value too.
Take one. So I'm cameraman James So I'm cameraman James from Sudbury, Ontario, and we'll see you in the next video.